I am Darshini, and along with my co host Anitha, we are here to bring you an inspiring conversations that reveal the power of stories. Today, we are excited to sit down with Harini, the founder of Nexus Diaries. Through Nexus Diaries, she helps businesses and professionals build visibility through authentic storytelling, PR strategies, and thought leadership. We will be diving into the story behind Diaries, the power of stories in business, and how Harini is shaping the future of authentic communication. Let's get started. Hi, Harini. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have been following your journey with Nexus Diaries, and we are really curious to hear about the stories you have gathered and the impact you're creating. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Darshini. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
And let's start with our questions. My first question is, Hani, what first sparked your decision to make storytelling the foundation of Nexus Diaries?
Yes, so this journey started nearly 2 years ago when I really started doing deep introspection on what I wanted to do in my life that was beyond my regular routine work, going to work, taking care of the family. And, when I started the journey, the one thing that really stuck with me is this whole world is created by people, not anything else, right? So whether it's process, products, or anything that we kind of bring to this world to evolve, to make it a better place, it's always the people who hold the key to it. So we are solving problems because people need them. We are identifying problems because people tell them. So basically, it's it's us creating the world for us to live peacefully and cohesively. That made me think even more deeper and say, so it is the story of each individual that kind of builds their own journey. And whether you take the top CEOs of any companies or an individual contributor or a homemaker, a house, a husband, however you want to call it, you know, everybody has a story and a journey, and they're all solving their own problems, right? And for me, obviously, we cannot solve the world problem through a business, but then we can do what we are passionate about and maybe at least impact a smaller community of folks. So 2 years ago, I stepped out of my comfort zone and I kind of had my phone as my microphone and camera, and I started, talking to leaders local to my county. I was interviewing them and asking them pretty much, how did they become who they became, and kind of started learning about their success journey. Or, success is kind of very definitive. I would say their journey through their existing, state. So how did they kind of get there? And I started blogging them in my Instagram page. Like, I need to give credits to Humans of New York. I was really inspired how Brandon actually was interviewing common people like you and me and putting their stories on his page. I really enjoyed reading them, the deep connection and perspectives. I was motivated to tell the stories in such short formats. So whatever interview I did, I just converted them into a first person narrative and put them as small part one, part two stories in Instagram. That kind of resonated with a lot of smaller, community business folks. They were interested and they were like, following my page. And I enjoyed the process more than anything. The whole learning part of it was very, it was giving me the energy to keep moving forward. It was completely, absorbing me, and I was feeling like a renewed person whenever I tried to listen to these stories and I, shared them with the world. So started, and for me, Nexus Diaries was born out of necessity to make it more sustainable. So I do a day job, and I want to kind of balance my work as well as my passion project. And of course, I'm a mom of two kids, and all this put together, all of us have 24 hours in a day, and we need to start looking at how we can make it more prioritize, right, things for us. So then I wanted to see, is there a value I can bring to the community by offering this as a service in some way? So that's when I started exploring options of, the storytelling, but maybe focus on small businesses to start with. and really see beyond me who can actually learn about these businesses, because there are local newspapers somewhat covering some of the businesses, but not all of them. And many stories are untold until you go talk to that actual person in a networking event. You'll be like, even though you knew them to be a popular CEO of a local, business, you don't know the story behind that until you actually speak with them and connect with them, right? I enjoyed learning people at that level. So I would walk into these networking events and start talking to people, and some of their stories really inspired me. And I was thinking, okay, how can I kind of put my passion and also serve their need together? And that's how Nexus Diaries was born as a PR service. So I think blogs are really awesome way to share your expertise, your authority, your authenticity. And so, many of them, they have these stories, but they don't have the time to actually share them with the world, right? So it's easy to sit and talk to somebody, but to sit and write everything and then share it is the hardest part, right? So podcast really picked up too, but then, the whole editing overhead and all that. So you guys know you're doing that now, is always there. So I think writing to some crowd is bit more, what do I say, easier in terms of penning down thoughts, because it helps you reflect on things. And at the same time, it's some of the audience like me, I love reading books. We consume better with words than with listening or seeing things. I see them as entertainment more than learning. For me, I like to read more. But there are some audience like that, but I do know many people do like to listen and read. But so there is basically multi formats of presenting that content. That's what I'm trying to get to. So when I speak with these businesses, when I hear their stories, one way is podcast, other way is to write that as a chronicle. And so I started doing podcast. I started doing chronicles, basically converting those podcasts into actual written stories like an FAQ format. So there's multimodal consumption of the same content. And I think I hear a lot of businesses really like that. And if somebody else tells you a story, it's even more powerful than you telling it yourself. So I can actually go on and on. So I'm not sure if I answered your original question about, how did I decide to go with storytelling as an engine for Nexus studies. That's actually the crux of it. I really enjoyed listening to people's story and sharing that, being the channel to put a spotlight on others.
Really did explain it in a very easily to understand way, and then like from where you started and what sparked you, and then from where like it brought you here. It's really nice to hear. Like it's so powerful, and it's amazing how like something touches so many people.
Thank you, Anita. It's, the value of people are, is kind of lost because of our, other focuses. There's so many distractions around us that we don't get to really think about who's actually the thing to matter, right? So whether it's your family or your friends or even your business, who makes them all? It's the people, right? For me. So I think I constantly, since the day I realized that myself through introspection, I really wanted to keep reminding me of that. Whenever there is a decision, whenever there is an interaction, it's like, yeah, you would do all the hard work. And, at the end of the day, what matters is what's the impact you have had on the people. How much have you really change their life in any way that you can, or influence them, or how have they in turn influenced you to become a better person, right? So I think just reminding myself about that every day helping me grow and become better, and also serve the people that I really want to serve.
Very true. That's very organic, right? Yeah. I want to ask you about Nexus Diaries. It puts stories at center of visibility. I can see that. From your experience, what makes a story truly connect with an audience?
Again, it is the authenticity. Why do we all watch movies? Because we know it's movies. We know it's fake. So we know it's for entertainment. So just knowing that it's a fact, it's a fake, immediately it's like, okay, I'm going to switch my mode. I know this is a movie, but then when you look at them, you get absorbed into them. You feel that character, you start crying, laughing, become angry or frustrated because, you know, the moment is there for you to, it gives you the permission to experience it, because, even though it's a lie, you have paid to actually go watch it. And you know that that experiences kind of brings the genuine aspects in you, right? So for me, um, just knowing the fact that it is a real authentic content, right? That's what makes anybody connect with the story. Because I read or heard from somebody that you are never alone. If you think you're so unique, you're so wrong. There are so many people, hundreds of people just like me, hundreds of people just like you all. So we may have small, unique journeys, but doesn't mean we are 100% unique. So basically, there may be another person who have thought about creating businesses like me, or connecting with people like me, running podcasts like me, or gone through same health struggles, or family issues just like me. So the very fact that we all have our experiences, but not sharing that with the world, means that you're siloing yourself. That means you feel like you're alone, and that leads to a lot of mental health issues too. And the whole community forms when you're able to share those experiences. It's the shared experiences that build the community, right? So I think the storytelling basically is when you're able to bring out that authentic self of a person, and their authority, their subject matter expertise, their strengths and weaknesses, all packaged into one, and make them very human. So you need to not, there's always this marketing piece of glorifying certain aspects, and that's okay, because that's how you build personal brand. But that doesn't mean you can fake your personal brand. So you need to kind of build it like, okay, who am I? For that, that's for me, I strongly believe in introspection beyond anything. So even to tell your own story, you need to know yourself well. If you don't know what you need and where you came from, and not acknowledge all your past traumas, past experience, not acknowledging every people who have shaped you to who you have become, then you're losing parts of your own story, that you can't be genuine. So I think that authenticity really matters, the introspection really matters, to actually tell your own story to others. At the same time, to bring out others' story, you need to kind of, play it by the ear, because not everybody is too open to sharing them. So it matters on what their goal is in terms of sharing the story, how deep they can get to. I can share stories from different perspectives. As I said, being a mom is a story, being somebody at a work is a story, being a business person is a story. What does the audience want to hear? Does somebody want to know how did a mom become a business owner? Yeah, I can give that perspective, right? So that also matters. How do you connect with the story? Other than authenticity, the audience, who's your audience? Just have them in mind whenever you're writing, saying, or showing anything. So, or when you say that, you will either attract those audience organically, or you can also market them to those specific audience by yourself, and target them.
That makes a lot of sense, Harini, and it's very inspiring. And everybody knows it's like all persons are different, all people's life is different. So it's actually very inspiring. And moving on to the next question, how do you usually discover and connect with the people or organizations you work with the Nexus Diaries?
Yes, there's that question I hesitate only because time is something that I'm still yet to learn how to be very diligent with. There are so many people out there, they are willing to talk and share stories, and also looking for that kind of a support. But finding them requires a lot of work in terms of, time investment as well as genuine interest. I say this because I can walk up to a networking event today and just go talk to somebody and say, hey, I made a connection. But did I build a relationship? No, because you need that relationship to actually find the people that you want to serve, and also vice versa, find the people that want to serve you, right? So for me, even though the starting path is all like networking, mostly, in-person networking is good, but then there's also several online communities in this day and age I will not negate anything online. There is always scope for you to connect. For example, I have never met Anita in person, but still I connect with her. So it is important to also stay there, in touch with people that you're connected to in online communities. That's where all the social media comes in, the engagement comes in and all that. So that's a different ball game altogether. You need to be a highly engaging person online for you to build that community online. And so I think for me, two sources of the first initial connection, but to actually come up with a lasting relationship and to actually end up with something, a mutual collaboration work, you need to invest more time. Go for coffees, go for lunches with them, or even if it's a virtual, meet and greet, beyond that, have a virtual coffee. Just get to know the person, just understand, how their life is, how they are building their businesses. There's so many unspoken things because it shouldn't become transactional. When it is very transactional, to certain extent, beyond certain extent, you cannot grow. You can still serve, but then if you really in my kind of business, the relationship is definitely number one. Otherwise, if it's whether it's a client relation or a media relation, we really need to understand each other's need better and go with the mindset of serving and not just a checklist of, oh, I got a client, now check, and oh, they have paid me, check. It's like, what more can I do to make it better, make their life better? Ultimately, are we making each other's life better? Right? So I think that's important. So I think for me, finding connections is not a big challenge. Sustaining it is. So building that is. So you go for networking, either in person or online, or go for extended coffee chats and all that to actually build that connection. Get more involved with them to actually see if you can serve them better.
That makes a lot of sense. Building those first bridge often leads to most meaningful collaborations.
Yes, indeed.
I would like to ask you what's been the most rewarding and also the most challenging part of building Nexus Diaries so far?
Okay. Rewarding part, of course, is just, seeing my passion come to life. It is, I love to solution things. Even now, if you just leave me in a room and ask me to come up with a workflow, I'm like, ooh, and I'm so excited about it. I like to see big pictures and see how I can kind of, get down to the weeds and solve it. Right. So for me, that has been the most rewarding part, just building the business itself. And I'm actually going to inject AI in it. If not for AI, I don't think Nexus Diaries can be could have been built this fast. It could have been built, but not this fast. It's 2 years, right, since I started this whole initiative of just learning about myself. But now I have up and running websites, services, solutions, and I've started building relationships and all of that. But I'll tell you about the AI a little later, maybe another question that you may already have. But anyway, what was the question again? So rewards. So yeah, rewards is basically seeing this whole company being built and come to a place where it is very real and I'm able to see that I'm able to actually offer value to somebody. So that is the most rewarding part. The challenging part, there's always a challenging part. And it's never going to end. That I know for sure. And 2 years is enough exposure to actually learn that quickly. I think my current challenge is scalability. You know, I found it out of my passion. I know people are interested in serving me, and I know people are interested in also working with me. But currently, for me, I have my day job, which I value so much, and they have empowered me in a way to think like an entrepreneur. And, I like it and love it so much that I don't want to let that go to pursue this full time either yet. But at the same time, I know that this is also a calling that I have eventually, maybe 10 plus years. I'm thinking of me doing this full time. So the challenge has been that scalability factor, either due to lack of time or a bit more. I need to learn more about how to hire help and how to bring in businesses so I can sustain that help. I can easily get a business grant or a loan, hopefully that can help me pay others for their services to me, right? Like a content writer or business development individual. But they are trusting me to give their job, and I am also will become responsible to keeping them in the job. For that, I need to make sure that I'm able to generate that revenue enough and to, keep that cycle going. Just thinking about it is daunting, but I know eventually I'll get there because right now I'm a solopreneur and I would love to start engaging with a lot of actually next gen kids and fresh graduates to actually give them this exposure because I think they also need to know how to build relationship beyond just social media, right? So we need to kind of teach them there too. So, but to get there, I need to understand that piece of it, and I'm working on it. So I will, as you speak, in fact, this morning I was thinking about who should I talk to next to get that piece moving, because I know that the talent is always out there, but how can I actually give them an opportunity and sustain it, right? So the idea is there. The people need that service. That's also established. It is just a matter of strategically moving towards bringing the right people to work with you and, scale from there on. So that's my biggest challenge today, but there's always going to be a new challenge when I'm done with that challenge.
True.
So that's going to keep evolving.
Yeah, that's true, honey. It's like kind of every day you'll face a new challenge. That's how we will learn new things, and we can overcome, and we'll succeed. We'll do success in that, and that really paints the full picture, like the joy and the test that push you to grow in your business. And this is like we can all relate. It's not just you. We are all in the same boat. Everybody deals with the same issue, the same thing. We need a sustainability. That's the important thing we are
Yes,
working on every day.
that's exactly what I was telling earlier, right? So we are all not unique. We all have pretty much same challenges. Somebody has already solved that. It's not like it's not there, but how do you even find the solution?
Yeah.
Because everybody's journey is sort of unique, but then the problem is solved,
The same.
but you have to figure out how can you solve the problem in your own unique way, but still leverage others' expertise and experience to get it done,
Yeah.
right? So that is where, I think even again, going back to AI, it has been a tremendous coach for me in, getting my business to where it is today, because the way generative AI works is, of course, it has to be trained in sources that then you can tap into when, you can just imagine if multiple experts are there in a room and you're brainstorming with them, you're going to get so many different perspectives. Some of those perspectives will resonate with you and you'll be able to work out with a solution, right? So it is just like that. Those experts are behind the scene with AI, right? They have these sources that you're tapping into, but it's up to you to ask the right question.
Yeah.
It's up to you to prompt the right way to actually get to what you need. So if you don't ask the right questions, you're not going to get the answers that you are hoping to get. So I
True.
think for me, it's already out there, and I do intend to use AI to first coach myself through the initial questions that I have. So even when I do meet that one expert or two experts that I want to meet and learn more from and actually implement it, I know what I'll be talking about. I'm not just walking in and saying, I'm clueless, tell me everything. So, I don't want to put that burden on them. We have to do the homework. We can't just walk in and say, hey, uh, you know, tell me everything. That's not their job. Their job is to actually solve that problem that you're coming with, but not to educate you about it. So find yourself a way to educate yourself about some things, at least the basics, and then go find that actual experts to help you solve that problem.
I just have one more question here. Have you used the blog into press release and to the distribution? How that workflow works for your clients?
Yes, I know theoretically it'll work, but for as of today, I don't have a actual client who has done that. But blogs, again, as I said, it's a platform to help you tell your story authentically. Okay. And journalists are out there looking for authentic stories. Everybody is looking for a fresh perspective on an existing topic or a completely new topic. And they're looking for authentic quotes. They're looking for those data and metrics that could support those subject that's being discussed. Imagine a company, you know, or even you can say an influencer who's having a blog channel, anybody, right? So you put all these effort in building your blog content that's very authentic. You go do your research and say this many percentage of people does that and this. So your blog has everything a journalist would need, but how do they find it, right? Because we are living in a era where everything is out there. There's so much content, and it's just going to keep scaling up. This content is so much, right? Media pitching comes in, and media relations with. So if I have 100 emails and I know Darshini or Anita, right, and you guys send me an email, out of the 100, only the two of you I know. I'll be first opening your emails because I know you. I know, okay, what is it that Darshini wants to say? What is it that Anita wants to say, right? That's where you have to build those relationships. And then whenever you send an email to these journalists, they will know who you are. They will immediately want to read what you have to say, right? So first building the relationship, and then taking that blog that your clients want and knowing what your journalist friend wants, right? Connecting the dots. You need to know, okay, so I would say I have a mental health provider as a client, and I know a journalist who contributes towards a health magazine, and she has been doing a lot of work with other mental health organizations. Who would connect that dot? There has to be somebody. Either the journalist pursues it themselves and goes scouts the internet for all of this. They can do that too. Or they would trust a friend to give them that story. Right? So I would then say, okay, so I have the story from my good friend or a person that I know and very authentic. So they now know that I'm authentic, and so whoever I'm referring is also authentic. And here's your story. Here's the blog they have written. I think there's a lot more to what they have written. The blog, maybe you should do a detailed article coverage on this person. Maybe have an interview with them. Maybe showcase them in your podcast, in your shows, right? So basically, you have to learn to, that's where the relationship building becomes a core. You need to know your client and your relationship, your media relations. So you can see how you can even pitch your blogs to your, journalist, but you really need to build those connections to and know who to pitch it for and know how they can trust you. So got to do that groundwork first before anything can be converted from a blog source to a media coverage.
So that is such a practical approach. Like hard work is always the key, right? Yeah. Would you like to go for the last question?
What's the last question? Let me give it a shot.
I just want to ask you, like, what are the AI tools that you use in Nexus Diaries? You already shared a tool with us, but like anything else or approaches that you have or you want to do it in future, you can just share it with us.
Okay. Today, because the business is so new, I'm not able to give you specific name of the tools because that would be my competitive advantages. But I can tell you that one particular source that I get it from is called AppSumo. I don't know if you've heard of it, but they're amazing. And I'm not saying it because I'm their affiliate, but even without that, I think there is so many startups out there that are genuinely trying and bringing us equally competitive tools than the high-end ones that are there in the market. And for us who are getting started in business, it's important for us to explore those tools and still see if we can quickly get to where we want to with that help. So I would say be open to technology, go look for such newer technology as well, not just existing ones. And you may be surprised and you'll probably be using them more than your regular tools.
Sorry. Yeah, we will let you know about more about AI in the near future, Harini.
Sure, we can definitely chat more maybe in another part. But this was great talking with you both. Thank you so much for having me here on your podcast show. And I wish you both the best in your endeavors. And I hope you got what you were looking for from me, at least in this last 30 minutes or so.
We definitely did, Harini, and it's been such an inspiring and thoughtful conversation with you. Thanks for sharing your journey, your insights, and your visions with us. And for our listeners, we would like to say, like, check out Nexus Diaries on the Harini's podcast, like Voice of Introspection. You will find incredible stories and practical lessons to help you share your own voice with the world. And to everyone tuning in, thank you for listening. And we are Dharshi and Anitha. We would love it to, you can leave us a review for us. And until next time, keep learning and keep exploring the journey behind your story. Thank you very much. Thank you, Harini and Darshini.
Thank